YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back. After a great Thursday night football game between the Eagles and the Packers, recapping that, I'll break it down in just a moment. Also want to add that we will be live streaming tonight right here on YouTube. It's going to be a live Q&A, and we'll talk about the upcoming games for NFL Week 4. So hopefully you can join us 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully you can join us for that. Should be a lot of fun. Come ask your questions. We'll answer as many as we can. And also, we have extra content available. A lot of changes to our Patreon, more content being added. We're going to have more score predictions just besides my own that I have on YouTube. Some score predictions from maybe some of the other guys will be added to Patreon every single week, along with all kinds of updated predictions for the season and updated mock draft. So go check that out for more info. And then we have a subscriber goal of 40K by the end of this year, so please help us out. We got you covered with NFL and college football content all year long, so please subscribe. Turn notifications on so you won't miss the live streams or any videos. Click the like button. Check us out on Twitter. We live tweet during games. But Eagles and Packers, I was pretty close on my score prediction, which I went bold on, and I probably got ripped more than I ever have been on a single game prediction. I was kind of just feeling the Eagles putting up points. I thought Carson Wentz would have a good game. I thought he'd have better than he actually did, but he controlled the game. The running game really opened up. And I still think the Packers defense has improved, but I think people were too hyped up on just 3 games. They played the Bears, the Vikings, and the Broncos offense. They haven't played the Eagles offense. And I did predict the Packers offense to pick it up because they were playing a weaker defense than they've been playing. So it's kind of the opposite there, and they kind of did. So it was an exciting game, kind of early on it was all Green Bay, then it was kind of back and forth. And why is it early on it's Green Bay? It's because that script, kind of what I've been talking about. LaFleur's got a good script, but once, the script is kind of dead, that's where they have to improve. We've seen it against the Vikings too. They got up 21-0 right away, and they didn't score a single point. So they got to figure out what to do post-script, second half, really for 3 quarters. They were still able to move the ball because the Eagles' defense is a little weaker, but they have to figure it out. But to break down, before I break down each team, talk about the officiating. People not happy with the officiating, and they say maybe that wasn't one of the better games because of the officiating. Well, every single game has been pretty terrible officiating-wise, But so I'd say it probably was the best game I watched this year, minus the injuries, some bad injuries there. Hopefully those guys are okay. Sounds like they are. But the officiating was actually different than the other games, because usually it's just every time the ref sees a hold, they throw a flag, and I don't recall one offensive holding call in this game. And I've seen so much jersey grabbing, some blatant holding from both offensive lines here, but instead they were nonstop on the pass interferences, the PIs. And there were some ones that I thought they were a little soft and the flag should not have been thrown. But then there was ones like the ones they reviewed that I thought should have been, they were blatant PIs and they should have reversed them. So, I thought they should have kept the flag in their pants on some of the PI calls, but then the reviews, I thought they should have reversed it. And the reviews is pointless. They're not going to reverse it, ever. It seems like they have reversed a couple this year, in terms of just the scoring review. So that's kind of odd, but it seemed like all the PIs came on third down too, which is just makes it even more sketchy. It's just like first down you can get away with murder, but on third down, it's just they got their hand on the flag, getting ready to throw it. And in that last drive too, people wanted them to review that last interception. I don't think they're going to when it's that game deciding, when it's that close. It was kind of bang bang play. I don't think they're going to actually review that. Kind of reminded me a lot of the Seahawks Patriots Super Bowl play. And there was already actually 2 pass interference calls on that drive, both on third down, I believe, called on the Eagles that I thought they could have let go. So I just did not see them going for a third one in a game clinching moment. I know it's a big moment, but I'm kind of glad they didn't take their time and review that forever. Yeah, but a lot of questionable calls in this game. I thought a lot of offense, like I said, a lot of holding, which they've been calling all year. I thought both teams got away with it. I guess it just matters on the offensive line. It just seems like these 2 offensive lines every week, and maybe like the Patriots offensive line, the Chiefs. I think those offensive lines get away with some holding. I think if it's well-known guys, well-known offensive line, for some reason they're allowed to do it. Maybe it matters who the quarterback is. Maybe it's the big-time quarterback. They want the extra protection on. So it's strange. It seems pretty obvious, though, to me. But To break down the Eagles, I've been calling for weeks Jordan Howard to give the load to Jordan Howard. I think last week or 2 weeks ago he's involved in 18% of the plays, so I ended up dropping him in fantasy too because even though I think he should get the load, it's pretty obvious he should get the load. They don't really want to, but they finally did it, and look what happened. Sanders has the traits, and he had a pretty good game. He has the traits. He has speed and strength. He can break tackles. To me, he just needs to stop hesitating and just hit the hole. He kind of bounces around a little too much. We even saw it last night. There was times where he would eventually hit the hole because they were huge, but if it was Howard, he probably would have got more yards, honestly. And then Sanders, he had a lot of open space plays. I think there was one where it was a one-on-one tackle. I think if Sanders hit the sideline, went upfield, he probably would have scored. He did have a good game. I just wish, which he can get better at. The vision needs to be there. He needs to hit the hole a little better. But good game from the running back. Jordan Howard was fantastic, not only running the ball, but catching the ball out of the backfield, too. We've seen him. He did have a lot of space, so you got to give credit to the offensive line. Early on, I think Jason Peters got beat pretty bad, but after that, he kind of fixed his game a little bit, fixed his footwork, and the offensive line looked really good, and that was the key. And then the run defense was, just fantastic. The secondary, the pass defense didn't look so hot, but the run defense was great. Derek Barnett in his pass rushing, ability, and the strip sack was huge. That's a game changer right there. That could be the game right there. Derek Barnett, bright future. I was super high on him a couple years ago in the draft, and then we saw him make a huge impact as a rotation player, and then even have a strip sack in a Super Bowl, and then missed all of last year with an injury. So this is really only his second year playing, and we're still early in that year. So he's got a bright future. I like Derek Barnett a lot. Then Nigel Bradham had a big-time game from him. Just seems like he was all over the field, all over the place making plays. The secondary was weak, and it was weak in terms of, I guess, depth and health, too. They had to put Craig James in there at the end, and I'm surprised they didn't just instantly go target him. That guy's been on a few practice squads, but yeah, secondary looks a little weak. Early, Sidney Jones got hurt in this game. Obviously, Maddox got hurt, but early on, Sidney Jones, that big play to Devontae Adams, he was there, and he has the length to make that play. He just didn't get his head around early enough. He was there. A lot of times, guys were there. They didn't do a great job tackling. I'd say Sendejo was the only doing a good job tackling as a safety, but he did hit his own teammate, which he's kind of famous for. If you ever watched him against the Vikings, he'd do that all the time to his own teammates. Xavier Rhodes would take a lot of punishment from Sendejo, probably why he's always hurt now. So really overall, I thought Sendejo played a pretty solid game, coming up, making hits, making tackles, what he's supposed to do. And the secondary clutched up at the end. They were bad most of this game, but they clutched up. Rodney McLeod, I thought was, he got beat a lot early in this game, but pretty clutch on that fourth down stop, getting after Rodgers and in coverage, on Jimmy Graham, so I thought those guys stepped up. Another thing I want to question is that 2-point conversion decision from Peterson. There's a lot of people defending that, and I think they're overthinking things. If the Packers scored on that last drive and didn't throw that pick, they just kicked the extra point. It's tie game. We're going to overtime. Where the Eagles, all they had to do back then was early in the game was just not go for two, kick the extra point. You're up by 8, which would have forced the Packers to have to go for 2. You're up by 8 points. There's a huge difference from 8 to 7. The team knows they have to keep up, tie, and have a chance to tie the game. Then they have to go for 2. That kind of sticks in their head. A lot has to be done. So I just kicked the extra point. 35-27 would have been the score. I think you're just a lot more, safer. So I absolutely hated that call. And then Alshon, it was good having him back. He definitely made an impact having him back because somebody's got to have you got to have a body on him, and it separates other guys like Zach Ertz, who I thought had a good game. But Alshon did have it was tough, but he did have a few drops I thought he could have caught. And credit to Kevin King. I thought Kevin King had a fantastic game. He really stood out to me. A lot of pass deflections. Maybe he gave up a catch here and there for some yards. But, a lot of pass deflections. Great job attacking the ball. My weakness for him always was kind of being physical and not just like coming up and tackling, but bringing the hammer, getting his hands in there, making a play. And I saw a phenomenal job out of Kevin King in this one. And then Alexander, similar game from him. I thought he, didn't let up a lot of catches, so he was pretty impressive, being physical, which he's known for. Receiver unit, I thought, stepped up. We saw Adams get hurt. I thought Geronimo Allison, they could have got him the ball a little more because he made a fantastic grab on a bit of an overthrow, and not, I guess, not the best spiral too. That's a hard ball to catch. So Geronimo Allison, big time catch. Scantling came up big in some catches. I thought even more. I thought the tight. Jimmy Graham was solid. He did drop that fourth down ball on the second to last attempt for the Packers there, second to last drive, but that was a very tough catch. Some people putting that on him. Play calling I thought was really bad. I talked about the script. The script that's decided, that the play calls are pretty much decided for the most part, not all of them, decided like before game all week. That's the game plan. Some teams do it, some coaches do it, some coaches don't, and the script works. It worked against the Vikings, worked against the Eagles, but after that, it's all about the play calling, and it hasn't been good. They insisted on the run pretty much everywhere on the field when it just wasn't working, and you were throwing all over them. And it was basically like a gift for the Eagles. Like, here, we're going to run the ball. And you got Fletcher Cox up there. You got Derek Barnett, guys like that. And it just wasn't working. They really couldn't get anywhere. I know their only back was pretty much Aaron Jones, but still they couldn't get anywhere. And then they get into the red zone, onto the goal line, and they refuse to run the ball. Not just at the end, but pretty much every time. And they settled, a lot of those field goals early on because they couldn't do anything in the red zone. Credit to the Eagles' red zone defense, which has always been great. They've always gave up yards, and then they've always been great in the red zone for some reason. It's like a totally different game. It's a totally different defense, totally different game. So credit to the Eagles' red zone defense. Those field goals forced early when the Packers looked like they were going to go up big. They're up 10-0 right away, I believe it was. So impressive there. The run defense obviously was not good for the Packers. It's pretty much Kenny Clark and Blake Martinez trying to stop the run by themselves. I said the corners played pretty good. The safeties really didn't, they were almost non-existent. They didn't really come up. They didn't really get torched or anything. But you wish you would, I guess more in the run game, you wish they would come up and help and make plays. They were kind of non-existent at that point. And that's kind of been the Savage. He's a first-round rookie, so that's what you can expect. But he'll have a huge highlight moment, big-time moment. And then he'll kind of just have a big bad moment, which is okay because he's a first-round rookie. But I've noticed that over, the season, early season so far, Amos and, he'll be fine. But I saw them step up a little more. But the play calling was pretty bad. Decision-making, was pretty bad to me. Rodgers was hit or miss, a wow moment, insane moments, and then really some bad throws from him, which we don't really see. I dropped interception at one point. Allison had to save him. It's just a couple questionable throws there. He did a very good job moving in the pocket, though, and gaining some extra yards running. But, he did have some ridiculous throws, which led them to getting 27 points. But, just kind of going. It was a great game. Questionable calls like every game, but I think it was definitely both-sided. So it wasn't definitely one way or another. It felt like it was streaky. It was like, okay, the Packers are getting all these calls. It's ridiculous. That's early on. Then all of a sudden, I was like, all right, the Eagles are getting all these calls or no calls right now. So it's kind of like streaky, but I thought it was both teams there. But kind of going back, like why I predicted the Eagles to score a lot of points, I just really thought they can get going. And I haven't really been sold. I've been sold on the Packers defense definitely being better and definitely coming up clutch, but I wasn't sold on them being that good of a defense. They played the Bears offense, the Vikings offense, and the Vikings were able to move the ball all over them. If you go back and remember, the Vikings moved the ball on them, and it was kind of just Cousins giving them gifts here, and there was some fortunate plays too on the Packers side. And then you go back to the Broncos. The Broncos were moving the ball, and then just fumbles, interceptions, just things that you got to give the credit to the Packers defense for making those plays. But my point is we saw teams moving the ball. We saw Dalvin Cook running on them. We saw Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman moving the ball on them. So they really, in my mind, the Eagles could move the ball. They definitely can move the ball. But then we saw the opposite. We saw the Packers not being able to move the ball on offense. Well, look who they played. They played the Bears defense, the Vikings defense, and the Broncos defense. Three very good defenses. So I thought they would be able to move the ball and score points. So it's kind of weird that people really just thought my prediction was just absolutely out there. I thought it was somewhat bold because the Eagles have been struggling and the Packers, have been looking very good. And I thought they looked pretty good in this game for the most part, but that's kind of where it came from there. It was a good matchup for the Eagles, and it was an impressive win knowing that they had some injuries, but the Packers did have some injuries too. Devontae Adams, Brian Bulaga. Bulaga seems like he's hurt almost every year. Last year he stayed healthy for the most part, so we'll see what happens there. I'm excited to see Dexter Williams. Hopefully he gets a shot next week. I think he's a very good. I love that draft pick. I think he's a very good running back. Just worried about him catching the ball in the backfield. But if they insist on the run, if they insist on the run like they did, I think Dexter Williams could be a good guy that way, a rotation guy. So we'll see. Pretty excited to see him play if he gets the opportunity, and I sure hope he does. The Packers got a tough one against the Cowboys next week. Eagles get a free one against the Jets. So we'll see how those teams do next week. But again, we're going to be live tonight. And we also have a lot more predictions, bonus predictions for more than just myself on our Patreon. So if you want more content, go check it out for more info. Top link in the description, patreon.com/thegoathouse. Appreciate everyone's support. Thanks for watching this video. We'll be back with more recaps, power rankings, predictions, score predictions. That's going to do it for this one, though. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.